Kings, queens, titans, celestials, adepts, wherever you are at, remember today is the only day that matters, because everything after this day is simply a reflection of the day. As I was starting my steps today, and I was looking into my space, I was looking into my space, so this thing in my space of thought, I was like, the way everything is moving at this moment for myself is, sometimes you ever felt like you missed a step, like you missed a step, you didn't step the right way, you didn't move the right way. Sometimes it's not that you missed a step, it's just that you have to steep within the process. Day to day, hustle and bustle, going back and forth, that day to day going back and forth, we tend to want this instantaneous result. We tend to want an instantaneous result because we're used to winning and losing, competition. That's became that set point for our mindsets. But sometimes you didn't miss a step. You just have to sit within the process. Sometimes you did not miss a step. You got to sit in that process. We feel like with this sense of going with that flow, stepping out of the aspect of trying to have control, going with the flow is allowing the process to hit. Like, I use an example. It takes about 7 to 8 minutes for my tea. The longer that it sits there in that cup, with the water and everything going on, the stronger it's going to become. Some things in our process, when we start, for me, aspect as a healer, one of the things that I had to learn was not giving information based on my ego being in the game, not giving aspects, knowledge based on ego, but giving information based on my heart. I missed a lot of steps earlier on in my healing process because I was sitting there in this position, and I was constantly trying to make everything fit at that moment in time. I was trying to I figured that in my mind, if I got all the steps done, then I can get on to the next phase. But then when I was realizing that certain things weren't popping off, I wasn't having certain experiences, I'm sitting here in this space like I don't feel anything, it's because I didn't allow myself to steep in the process. Steeping involves that aspect of trust. Building that trust with oneself. Getting to know yourself on that level. Being able to have that conversation with yourself on that level. Similar to right now, I've been to the gym, did my workout, looked at the podcast, looked at some messages from the podcast, this week's episode. I've done everything up to this point, and now I'm just sitting here thinking back to when my grandmother would be up to like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. You think about your grandmother being up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and everything they would get done between 4 and 5, just between 4 and 5. So really think about sitting in that process, and instead of counting your steps, we'll put it this way, instead of constantly counting your steps to try to get to a certain result, this is when, at a perfect time for you to actually set the tone by steeping in your growth. Steeping in the aspects of what you need to work on for the day. What do I really need to reflect on? What am I going to really be reflecting on today? Let me give myself this moment. This takes to being honest with you. This takes that transparency for you. It takes steps to do this. You're not doing this, you're not taking in this information based on feeding your ego, because that's always going to leave you confused. It's always going to leave you in conflict. It's always, just start really thinking about your day. If your day started in lax, then you need something in your day that's going to have to shake your day up. So think about you going those untrained thoughts. Really think about the untrained thoughts. Think about the undisciplined thoughts that you have in the beginning of your day. And now you're sitting here trying to get yourself started literally at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. You're trying to get yourself started at 12, 1, 2. You're already behind the ball. You're missing the steps. Now you're trying to catch up. Most people are in that space where they're trying to catch up they're trying to catch up in steps. So they never have the time to allow themselves to steep in the moment. So when the moment comes, when it comes a moment when they have to steep in some shit, they don't know how to handle it. Think about right now, there's a lot of people steeping in their emotions. Emotional imbalances, negative thought processes, and traumas. They're still steeping in the effects or the results of staying within that trauma cycle. Their mindset, they're still stuck within that space. And now they're steeping in it, and now they're fuming in it, and now they're building from it. They're brewing from that. And then you sit in your space. Now you take that same energy, since you haven't disciplined this energy, you simply allowed it to fester in that space. Now in order for it to exist, since it has no composition, it has no strength to itself. This is when you start realizing certain individuals don't have strength. When they don't have that strength to themselves. They constantly need you to be there. They constantly need you to feed on this. Because they're missing steps. They're missing steps. They're still steeping in something of the past. This goes even further when you start thinking about the steps that you need to take going forward. Instead of steeping in the thought, you already know exactly what's supposed to. You already know what you need to do. That one step for you, that one grand move for you, grand design for you. That's when it's gonna change everything in your space. Sometimes we get I remember for myself, I used to get mad excited about when I would get something because I didn't train myself. So I said it, I spoke on it in the podcast. Imagine if you sat here and got $1 million right now. Just think about if you had $1 million right now. What all would you do with it? How much have you planned out about that $1 million? How much have you dialed in about that $1 million? Because until you have dialed in into fully submerging yourself into what you would do with $1 million, I can guarantee you're going to do everything on impulse first. I was thinking about it the other day. I was thinking about while I was at the gym, and I thought about the stepping in the steep. I remember a point in time where I would have my vacations and got used to my vacations. And I remember when I first started personal training. First started doing personal training in that aspect. First started doing it. And I remember the money was great. The money was great in that space. So I was like, yeah, I'm able to go buy this and buy this and buy this and do this and do this and do that. This is what I was able to do over and over and over again. But instead of me learning to steep within that position and learn from that position and actually save and budget and give myself a budget, I was riding off the impulse. So when it came time to when I ran out of money, in my mind, I'm sitting here like, what step did I miss? I built the brand, I built the company, I built the brand, I built the company. I did the promotion. I got the client list. I did this, and this. I did every single step. What did I miss? The step that I missed was that first couple of months when that money's coming in, I should have steeped in it. I should have allowed to put it to the side so it can steep. So it can grow. it can become strong, it can strengthen itself. So I can actually grow my company. This is what a lot of us do within our space right now. Think about you don't have to have you don't have to go get an LLC to have an LLC mentality. You don't have to have an LLC to have an LLC mentality. LLC mentality, that's ownership mentality. So now think about your life. Think about where you're at right here in your space. Think about the things that you have allowed to accumulate into your space. Think about the way that you're organizing the way that you organize yourself. Just start really being honest with yourself. It's going to take a level of honesty to do that work to become the owner of yourself. For years and years and years, decades and decades, we have put ourselves into this thought process that we're waiting on something else to give us what we deserve. I cannot live on time served. I can't live on time served. I don't care what happened back then. I don't care what I did back then, what accomplishments I had back then. I can't live off time served. This is where that work is required. You can stop for the aspect of living off time served. Your whole entire life is created based off time served. That 12 by 12 mentality. Time served, 12 by 12 mentality. Where you're sitting there in a space and you're like, I did this many hours of work and I get paid this much and it equals this. I went this many hours over here. I went this many hours at the gym. I went this many hours to get this, and this, and bring this into my life. And now I'm still in that space. The reason that you can't get anything done or you cannot grow yourself or groom yourself is because the old values that I talked about Sunday, the old values that I talked about that are obsolete, you're still trying to live within those spaces. You're still trying to view things through that space. So now you keep getting stuck, coming right back around the pipe, you keep getting stuck. And that's what a parallax is. The parallax effect is, if I'm sitting right here and if the smoke right here is moving beside this incense that's sitting right beside me, the smoke is moving really fast. But if I'm not paying attention to this smoke and I'm looking at the refrigerator in my kitchen, then that's all I'm focused on. I do not see this smoke. I don't see what's accumulating right in front of me. And that's the parallax effect. Available now out on Spotify, iTunes. I got those links got the links in there. I want you to be the best. It's gonna take you not thinking about being time served. It's gonna take you didn't miss a step. It's this time for you to actually sit there and steep in that process. Allow yourself to work in that process. Allow that process to work within you. This is not a sprint. This is not a race. This is a marathon for you. This is not you being based on, well, maybe if I move this fast or if I move this fast and then I might be able to get it faster. That's not how you healing yourself works. I know people that have started, clients that have worked with me right now that are in their 50s and started their healing process. And that's the only thing that's going to become harder and ingrained is the longer that you wait to heal, the harder it is for you to be able to let go of the aspects in order to go forward. But I just want you to be fucking great. God Hour Podcast, episode Parallax out now. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You know we get into the God Hour show. Stay tuned for the information on that. Gotta call alchemistllc.com, or you can inbox me for services, including readings, set under that consultation. Get yourself to where you're at. Allow yourself to grow. Allow yourself to elevate. That's going to be your key. Allow yourself to elevate. I just wanted to give you this quick aspect, that quick little message about thinking about your steps and thinking about what you've missed. Maybe you didn't miss a step. Maybe it's time to sit there and steep in the process to see why you think you missed a step. Go beyond the limitations of your original mind. Start the healing process now. Because the longer that it takes, the longer that you wait to heal, the more